And as the blocks fill, good evening, everybody. My name is Bob Breen. Welcome to tonight's Zoning Board of Appeals meeting from May 9th, 2024. We have a set agenda for tonight's evening. 4 matters, not including new and old business, as well as minutes from our prior meeting. To begin, before we hear the public hearings that are scheduled to go forward tonight, we have 2 matters that I'd like to attend to just for purposes of prior filings. In particular, begin with 31 Redmond Ave. The petition is for a variance for an addition submitted by applicant Christopher Cheeto. Mr. Cheeto is unavailable due to a medical situation in his family and has asked that the matter be put over to our June meeting for his first hearing on the matter. And to that end, if I might at this time, Brendan and Michelle, as well as Jerry, I want to check for availability for our May meeting, just to attend to that for practical purposes, as well as the matter in the immediate. So I know, go ahead, Kathy.
You mean the June meeting?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, June meeting, thank you. So at this time, June 13th, I'm trying to check with both Brendan and Michelle for their availability for that night. Michelle, if that had presented a problem for you, I understand.
Yes, I have a conflict that night.
Okay. And while we're awaiting Maria for possibly to see about her availability, any consideration of June 20th by the panel tonight? In particular, on that night, I'm available.
Yeah, the 20th works for me better than the 13th.
That works for me.
Either date is fine with me.
Okay, good evening, Maria. How are you? You're muted, but we won't hold that against you.
Okay, hi, good. How are
Hi,
you?
how are you?
Good.
We're just setting the agenda. We're setting the scheduled meeting date for June.
Okay.
And the first consideration was June 13th or the following June 20th. Do you have a problem with either of those dates?
I think they're both fine.
Bob, will you be away on the 20th?
Okay, in light of Kathy's unavailability, we'll offer June 13th with the expectation that Michelle won't be available, but Brendan, Maria, and myself will be. And Jerry, what about your situation for that day?
I'm fine.
Okay,
June 13th.
that's fine. And again, as is always the consideration for the board, if something presents, and otherwise, by all means, just let us know, and we'll attend to that as needed. So again, back to 31 Redmond Ave. The party saw again the continuance. So Kathy, if you would put that over for that June 13th date.
Okay,
And thank you. And for purposes of 2 Fieldcrest Terrace, that matter came before the board in March. It was put over for status only. It's an appeal of the decision by the building commissioner. It was put over for tonight for status only. In order to seek the hearing was put over, allowing for status only tonight, affording the opportunity to present the matter to town council for opinion on the legal issues presented there too. I'd like to update the board and I guess the community inherently that the matter has been presented to town council. Their office is expected to provide us with an opinion for our consideration at the next public hearing on the matter of 2 Fieldcrest Terrace. So with that in mind and to the board, I would like to return the matter to an active status for further public hearing on again June 13th, and would welcome any thoughts or considerations on doing so from any Michelle, Brendan, and or Maria.
Did town council indicate when they might get back with their
Yes,
thoughts on this?
the usual process is I spoke with them today to get an understanding of the timeline on that. They expected it within a week's time, so it will be well in it several 2 to several weeks in advance of the next meeting date.
Okay.
And upon receipt of it, it'll be distributed to the board and also be submitted into the record and in advance of the meeting. My understanding, perhaps Kathy can let us know, is it usual practice to accommodate alert the decision to the in this case the petitioner applicant. And again, it isn't controlling. It is going to serve just as an opinion on the underlying legal matter. The consideration for public hearing still is open to again public consideration, further information, or advocacy by the petitioner, and of course consideration by the board itself. So all of these things go into consideration. But again, it will be in place in advance of the meeting on June 13th. So with that in mind, is there an understanding amongst the board that they're comfortable with going forward with further public hearing on again June 13th regarding 2 Fieldcrest Terrace?
Sounds good to me. But acknowledging I won't be there, but sounds good.
Maria, Brendan?
That works.
Okay. Kathy, if you would, please put again 2 Fieldcrest Terrace on for public hearing for again our June 13th meeting date. Thank you.
Bob, just a comment, where Maria
Please.
wasn't, voting last meeting and wasn't on the first meeting. She gonna be up to speed to make a vote at that meeting since Michelle won't be there?
Well, again, it's an interesting question. So Maria, there were any number of comments and offered information from the neighbors, the abutters, interested party on Fieldcrest Terrace. I think the position of the appellant in this case, Joe Mastone, kind of more or less speaks for itself. He disagreed with the finding of the builder commissioner, and my hope is that the minutes from the meeting would serve to give anybody joining the meeting or the issue for the first time an understanding of what's going on. But again, it's a fair question. If you're comfortable stepping in to get up to speed on the matter, Maria.
Is it a full open meeting again? Do the same people have the opportunity to be heard again? You said that there were
Yes,
abutters
yes,
and such. Yeah.
it's on for hearing. It is not on for issuance of a decision. So there has been no consideration of the underlying matter by the board. It was decided at that meeting that it might be a good idea in this case to just present whatever legal issues lie within it to town council. So my belief is that that opinion that'll be provided might be obviously assistance to anybody hearing the matter, in your case for the first time. Again, I think the minutes, and well as, you know, quite frankly, Mr. Mastone will have, I, you know, have every intention of asking him to once again state his position regarding his disagreement with the, an appeal to that of finding of the building commissioner. At the same time, with Jerry Noel being able to appear, he can discuss what his findings were. And as might be needed or wanted by you, the attending surrounding neighbors or interested community members are more than welcome to offer opinions. It is, again, going to be a matter of public hearing, not deliberation by the board itself, notwithstanding the opinion offered by town council.
Right, if it's
So-
if it's an additional full hearing, I think I'd be fully able to make a decision. I wonder if any of the abutters or any of the additional people are on the hearing right now, so they know to attend again at the next hearing.
To that point, just to clarify that, at our last meeting and the meeting, so that was our March, in our April meeting, that question was asked both of Kathy directly by people as well as some people who joined the meeting, possibly that during our April meeting, but we clearly noted to them that to keep an eye open for whatever date our June meeting would be for specifically for purposes of the hearing. So they knew that nothing was going to take place tonight other than effectively my updating the board and going on the record with an acknowledgement that town council has been approached and asked by the board to offer an opinion of the issues presented by the petitioning applicant, appellant, excuse me, Mr. Mastone. So in short, Kathy, I think you can speak to this because you fielded a lot of the inquiries from the public. It's going to get posted again, and it will be as if they'll have plenty of notice to come and participate if they're interested on, in this case, June 13th.
It'll be posted on the agenda and it will be posted with the town clerk, the continuation hearing, but they won't get individual notes.
Okay,
But I see most of them a lot of them are here tonight too, so.
okay. So again, for the purposes of staying the record and documenting it, the 2 Fieldcrest Terrace matter will be on our agenda June 13th for further public hearing, which again offers opportunity for, in this case, Mr. Mastone, the applicant, the members of the community, however interested, and the board to both gather information to be considered and discuss the underlying issue. And if that conversation, discussion, hearing should be full and complete, the matter could be voted on. You know, again, it will all depend on what transpires. I have no idea what to offer at this time. But again, the one thing I can alert everybody to is that there will be an opinion generated by town council, office to town council for purposes of the underlying legal issues that were raised previously, as well as in the application itself. So I think it's going to be pretty compliant and complete across the board for that purpose.
Bob, can I just jump in to address the email that got sent to the board regarding this matter?
Sure, go right ahead.
I just want to address it, and the reason, if it's not known that this board isn't able to respond directly to emails, anytime we respond as a group, that essentially would be us meeting as a board, and so we have to save our communications until this public forum when it's been properly noticed. So we're not able to, as a board, kind of respond to emails because that would violate the open meeting law. So that's why delays happen and why we try to respond to them in this public setting. And I believe Kathy did a great job answering kind of the timeline questions, and then just to address the substantive questions of why this board wasn't able to reach a decision sooner or faster at the first meeting. I would just say we have our process and we're being diligent in our review. Appreciate you showing up time and time again, and we'll discuss it again at the next meeting.
Yes, excellent point, and thank you for the courtesy of acknowledging the continued interest in the matter by members of the community. But again, just to be clear, a lot of the issues were touched. They're still available to be discussed, and very likely I'd encourage any conversation that people want to have on it. But again, tonight was for status only. What I can offer, and that was the purpose of putting it over for status, was the opportunity to avail ourselves of town council. Considerations were given as to the appropriateness of it. They agreed that it was an appropriate matter because of the issues raised. And to that point, they were satisfied with the information that they're relying upon, both from the record that existed going into as a result of our March meeting. And again, we will receive an opinion letter, and it will be brought and put into the record. I have every expectation and belief on June 13th. And again, so I think every opportunity to both bring the board up to speed as well as the community, and obviously the applicant, appellant, Mr. Mastone, will all be available, if not realized, on June 13th. So, but again, thank you, Michelle, for pointing that out. It is worth noting that we are subject to public hearing rules and regulations, and as much as people want responses from us, our obligation and duty is to do so in a public forum. And it's not for want, it is for purposes of fairness and transparency, quite frankly. So that all being considered, again, to move this, try to close this, is the board okay with, again, putting 2 Fieldcrest Terrace over until June 13th for further hearing?
I, Maria
And this-
Lockhart, move to put 2 Fieldcrest Terrace over for final and full hearing, well, hopefully final, but full hearing on June 13th.
Can I get a second?
Hi, Brendan Riley, second.
And can I get a vote?
Maria Lockhart, aye.
Brendan Riley, aye.
Bob Breen, aye. Thank you all. So again, further hearing, and anybody who's attending tonight and interested in 2 Fieldcrest Terrace, we will be meeting on June 13th, 7 p.m. and again, virtually for purposes of the agenda that night, as well as in this case, which will include 2 Fieldcrest Terrace for, again, further public hearing on the matter. Thank you all. So with that being done, I'd like to move to the agenda for tonight's public hearings. Our first matter is regarding 299 Main Street, if I might. Hearing notice went forward. A virtual public hearing will be held on Thursday, May 9th, 2024 at 7 p.m. on the petition of Arthur Matani for a special use permit to run an automotive repair shop to be located in the Highway Business District at 299 Main Street, North Reading, Mass, map 12, parcel 128, in accordance with section 200-39D of the North Reading zoning bylaws. Good evening. Is Mr. Matani and/or a representative for him with us this evening?
He was here. Mm.
I can see
Yeah.
Artur Matani.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Matani. How are you?
Good, good.
If you might, regarding your application petition, can you please take a moment to talk about what you're proposing and requesting the board approve?
Yeah, so I am a mechanic. I've been working on cars since I was like 15, so it's been like over 25 years now. And um, I am here tonight trying to get a permit to use that place for automotive repair shop. That means for the community of the North Reading, to bring their cars in for services, for oil changes, tires, or a check engine light, or anything, any service that the car needs that would be repaired at the place at 299 Main Street. Can you hear me?
Okay. No, that's understood and heard. So can you tell us, I know that you submitted some, I know on behalf of the petition that there's been submission of some maps as well as photos and a hand drawing of what looks like how it'll be situated in 299 Rare on Main Street. Is there any further information that you might be able to provide us regarding the operation of the proposed business?
Yeah, so this is my first time going through this. So, and English is my second language. So it's probably, I don't know if I'm, trying to explain everything. But as I said, I am trying, to go there, open a repair shop, and use the parking lot, which is right beside of it, for for the cars to stay there overnight, for repairs that might take longer or might need extra time or extra days to get parts, and yeah, just basically just I don't know how, like I said, I'm just trying to explain on my best I can. But I wanna go there, be work for my own, and try to work for the community, know the community better, and I know that area a little bit, and I know some people around there, and I know right now it's kind of shortage for like a lot of industrial, like car business and car repair shops, which is it looks like it's very shortage, because I've been doing this for like 20 years in United States, and I am right now I'm working for a dealership, and I do see that is a lot of demand for used car to be repaired, since everything has gone high. So that's why now I got my comfortable zone where I learn the area, and I know the cars, and that's what I've been doing for, like I said, over 25 years. And yeah, that's it.
So could you, for my purposes, can you explain your relationship with the owner of the property? So I think that's noted within your paperwork, and also a letter of acknowledgement of the lease that I think is being proposed. So what can you tell us about Intrepid? Are they in any way involved in the operation, or are they simply the landlord?
So I met the landlord after I've been looking to rent similar places. And I just met him after he posted on Zillow. And then I went and talked to him. We have an agreement that he will lease the property, 5 + 5 years. And we kind of made an agreement, and I didn't know him before. Yeah, so we made an agreement. After I made an agreement with him, and then I came to the city hall trying to apply for the permit, for the special permit. And yeah, it's everything is all set on his side, and he wants to rent the place, and I am trying to rent something, and here we are,
Okay. And regarding your financing for the operation, are you completely the financial source on this, or?
Yes,
So
I'm gonna lease that all along, and then I'm gonna have my brother help me, my wife trying to start the business, do like commercials and do advertisements, and try to let a lot of people that I know that I'm going to be on my own, because right now I do have some clients, but not in North Reading. It's all over the place. I have friends that I've known for over 20 years, and I'm just gonna spread my word that right now I'm gonna be working on my own and just have everybody I know, and then the rest of it just gonna go through social media and other advertisements, trying to get the business going.
More than happy to open up. Is there anything else you want to let the board and anybody who's joining us from the community know before we open it up to the public for consideration or conversation? Mr. Matani?
Yeah, I'm happy to hear if anyone has any question. As I said, I just this is this is something I've been doing all of my life. All brands, you know, American cars, European cars, Japanese cars. I am a master tech for Acura and Honda, and I'm also certified technician for Audi. And currently, I'm working for a dealership, and I've been working for dealerships for over like 15 years now. So I have all my knowledge, I have all my certifications, and I've been going to training regularly, yearly, and I am very comfortable in opening my own and trying to go out there and help the community. And the more mechanics we have, more compatible prices, and more more mechanics, and I think it's better for the community, where the prices right now are going higher. So now just trying to go out there and start my own business, hopefully.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody from the area in and around 299 Main Street, Pluff Ave, as it might be, that is joining us tonight that might have questions for the applicant, Mr. Matani? Kathy, for clarification, notice all proper notice went out in posting for purposes of I can't speak to my understanding or knowledge of adjacent parties or residents, but is the
He did
submission
provide,
complete?
He did provide notification to abutters.
Okay, thank you. Hearing nothing from the public, I'd like to afford the board as well as Inspector Noel, to ask any questions of Mr. Matani or bring anything forward that they might want to be considered in this.
Jerry Noel, Building Commissioner. This was previously at one time, prior to being a detail business, it was a service station as well. Not a service repair, I should say. The only thing I would like to know is how many vehicles that would potentially be on the property and stored at the property. And that would be about it. Just concerns with overcrowding.
Yes, so there is, on front of the building, it's about 3 to 4 parking spots. And then on the side of it, you could park, I think it's around 20 to 25, I think it's around 18 to 23 parking spots. So I'd say total outside, on front and on the side, which is already fenced, you cannot see anything from the street. So I'd say, yeah, around 25 cars. And this is just outside, and you can park 3 or 4 cars inside the building also.
So for purposes of the placement of vehicles in and around the property, so we've dealt with this in the past, more often than not with trucks in more particular. But my memory, we had a couple in the late fall where cars were being brought to be cleaned and detailed. The board can help me out with that. And we had reservations about just simply having cars readily viewable or to be seen, effectively just, for lack of a better way of characterizing it, just taking up spaces and being, more or less left outside. And while that business was different obviously in nature from this one, they're similar in that we're dealing with cars just being placed. Now, if there's designated parking spaces, that helps, obviously, but I'd welcome input or thought from the board, because there are, those considerations within our bylaws for different purposes. And Jerry, you might be able to answer this possibly better. I mean, what's the interior size of this building, 299? I see this, I mean, I've seen the photos that were offered in, just from being up and around that area. It looks sizable, but is it what's the interior look like? Do they have any hydraulics? Are they, what's the, is it a single, like, what's the setup within the interior of that?
I couldn't tell you what it looks like today. I was in there about 5 to 5.5 years ago.
Right.
And it did have have hydraulics. It did have a lift back then. I don't know if that's been removed or if that's still in place. You may want to ask the appellant.
And Jerry, before we put that over, I mean, just, well, whether it's fair or unfair, I don't know. I mean, but just looking at this visual of the photo that's on screen now, I mean, what looks like a tractor or a truck, several cars are just kind of parked. Is this to your, just again, your opinion, because that, your job is to be in and around town, as it were, and taking note of inspection for purposes. Do you get a sense that this is just kind of becoming an odd lot area where people are just, putting this here and that there without any, permit and or, acknowledgement by town for purposes of just use?
I was by that property recently, and I don't recall seeing that dump truck in the back and or that front end loader. I don't know when
Okay.
I don't know when this picture was actually taken.
Okay. yeah, again, these things kind of they show up, and as I've learned, the internet could be forever, well, for all intents and purposes, it looks like forever, although, so that Tuesday, April 16, 2024 Google Earth shot, who's to say if it was really generated on that day? I don't know anything about how Google Earth, situates their data stream or whatever they post. But again, Mr. Matan, I mean, can you speak to, you're like, you're trying, let me just, you're putting forward an application for use of a property and asking for a permit effectively, or grant, and we don't really understand the specifics of it. In fact, while I appreciate, your description of it and, the photos that were submitted, there's no information here regarding signage. There's no, the hours of operation, your expected employee role. And, these are all, for me, as a member of the board, pertinent. My concern always is with somebody coming before the board to get a permit to start a business, and the business not succeeding, not for lack of want, but for lack of organization and or presentation, that it can be realized. And suddenly what started out as, whatever you decide to call your operation, not that this is going to be the case, but here today, gone tomorrow, and it makes a reflection. The board, this board, the members, we've dealt with any number of properties along Main Street that have, put forward an effort to change the use, and those efforts seemingly became derailed or were never achieved. And it's frustrating, I'm sure, for the applicants and the people trying to do it, but it's also frustrating for the community. So, I'm trying to be assistive here, but also pragmatic. And all due respect to the landlord and the owner, Intrepid, but acknowledging that you have until June 1st with a hearing date before the board, not that that's, quite frankly, impossible, of course. This is your initial approach to the town for this purpose. And while it is correctly in the business zoning area, there's not a lot of specifics here other than what you're telling us. And, I just want to alert the board, or, and anybody listening in, that I always have reservations about, I enjoy specifics, I enjoy detail, and I enjoy I enjoy being given information that just seems to give me assurances of not just what you're intending to, but ultimate success that should be expected and realized by the effort. Again, I'm open to the board's comments and or
Bob, I can ask
concerns.
some
Please.
questions. Mr. Matani, do you have what are your plans with signage? Do you plan on putting signs up? Oh, he's on mute. Mr. Matani, you're on mute. Do you want to take it off from mute? There you go. Okay, go ahead.
Can I say something before I answer your question? Can I say something to the gentleman, to Bob?
Certainly.
Sure, go right ahead. Sure.
Yeah, so the pictures you see in there, the parking lot is clear. There is no trucks. There is nothing in there. There is nothing inside the building right now. The building doesn't have any lifts or anything, so I am gonna supply all that. And so I know that before used to be big trucks and all that. But one I've been there a couple times with the owner. We walked around inside, outside. We talked, and so the parking lot it's all cleared. There's nothing there. There is no cars. There is nothing. So the whole thing is empty. And I did when I put my application, I did put my schedule there for 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And then I put for Saturday, I think 9 to 1 o'clock or something, or 12. So I did put my my schedule there. And as I said, excuse me, I am, when I go there, I am going to quit my job where I've been working for over 2 years. Previous to that was like 15 years at Acura Fibri. But so I am going to start the business with me, my wife, and my brother as a family. And we're not, the first couple months we're not gonna have like payroll stuff and all that, because this is it's a new business and I'm gonna start it. I have the money to support it for months to go. And I already talked to people that for months that I have been looking somewhere in the area. And so yeah, that's my my answers to your all your questions. And the sign, so I think right now the sign is gonna be just against the building, because I talked with the owner, and we cannot, as of right now, I think we cannot put a sign on the main street because I think we need a special permit for it.
What do you plan to do with oil after you've done oil changes and those types of materials?
Yes, so for the oil, there is a lot of companies who come and get the oil monthly or weekly, depending on the waste barrel that you have in there. And then once they get full, you call them up and they come and pick them up. And also that goes with the metal, like brakes and all that other stuff. There is going to be people that they'll come and pick them up every other weekly or monthly, or depending on how busy it's going to be.
Okay, and how many cars do you think, can you estimate at a time you might be working on? How many cars might there be in the parking lot? And would they always just be cars, or might they be trucks or bigger trucks?
No, it's not going to be big trucks, because I usually I like to work more on SUVs, maybe pickup trucks. That's the biggest car, but I will not work on big trucks. I haven't worked on those. I just want to work on cars that I know and I'm comfortable working on it. And yeah, so it's sedans, SUVs, and I think the biggest car would be the pickup truck.
And the work would be done inside the building, right? Not like in
Yes. Yes, of course. Yeah, that's why I'm renting the building and the parking on the side, which is already fenced, and you cannot see through the street. All the fence has been there before, so that's a good. Yeah, so the cars are gonna be work inside the building. We're starting with 2 lifts, and I probably might have a 3rd lift later on. But if this goes through, and hopefully does, I will start with 2 bays inside, and everything is gonna get, all the work and everything is gonna get done inside the shop. Especially with the weather we have around here, you can't even work outside with the winter anyway. The summer is very short, so.
If I may, Chair,
Please.
if this does get approved, does this have a gas trap in the floors? Meaning a gas and water separator? Because that's something that the health department, along with the building department, require for any type of service station. Do you recall if there's a gas trap on the floors? And if so, and if you do get the approval, do you know if you or the owner are willing to put those
I, s- I don't remember it, but I have talked to him about it. And he said wherever we have to get done, he will get it done, or I will get it done, and then he will reimburse me, through the rent later on. But yeah, if wherever it needs to be done, him and we will get it done.
Thank you.
Brendan, Michelle, or Maria, anything further? Just rather, I'm just interested in, again, getting a full view from the board.
I think, Jerry touched on some points I was going to ask. Jerry, are you aware of there any additional special permits that might be required by the Board of Health for storage of oil or fuel, flammable materials in the fire department, right?
Fire department may be
Wanna look
interested
into?
in the oil storage. Relative to any special permitting, he would need a permit for signage. And the health department would be, they wouldn't sign his permit, unless he had the gas traps. So that would be something he would have to, install prior to having the business.
My familiarity with these situations, if it turns out we grant the permit and for whatever reason they can't realize or achieve public health requirements or otherwise special permitting that might be required, does it just stay open and follow him until it lag times out like other grants and permits? Is that your understanding, Jerry?
If he can't meet the requirements of the health and building department, then it doesn't follow through.
Right, and he won't be able to,
doesn't get the
he can't
permits, yeah.
occupy.
Correct.
Okay. I have an interesting question. Again, and Jerry might be able to help with this. There's a fence that surrounds, it sounds like at least part, if not most of the property. Is your plan to locate the cars that are in process, the ones that you're either working on and are awaiting, drop off? I'll get to it tomorrow or the next day. Is everything going to be off out of, basically, for lack of a way to phrase it, just out of view of the community from the street? Is everything going to be behind the fence?
Yes.
For the operation? And is it also or possible to store the vehicles that you are working on within the garage, the building itself? I mean, I know you have what sounds like lifts are going to go in. I'm assuming that the prior tenant owner user took out the lift. Obviously, nobody's going to leave that around for somebody to come in and take, as dramatic as that might sound. But is the plan to try? There's all, while it is business district, there is still this underlying intent and clear, I think, if not directive, that we don't allow these business operations to just become parking lots. Whether, it's for actual use by that tenant or just for convenience, these things can sometimes snowball or accumulate. So I'm always interested in trying to keep, even in a business district, a clean look. But I search for the word that best describes that. I don't know if the board agrees with me, but we have had any number of past matters that dealt with just vehicles being stored overnight while in process. And all those applicants have taken measures to do it. So if you can tell me, Mr. Matani, is your plan to put everything behind the fences?
Yes, that's why this was one of the reason why I like that property there, because it does have uh, additional a lot of parking spots right behind the fence, where, like I said, I think you could park around 18 or a little over 18 cars in the behind the fence in that parking spot, which is going to be the employee cars, and then it's going to be the overnight cars wherever, wherever is staying for the night. It is going to be inside the fence. This is New England. This is something that you probably could leave a couple cars outside for the summer. I'm just saying, but winter comes, you can't leave anything outside. But where I've been educated working for big dealerships, and I will try to keep everything nice and clean and neat, and yeah. And it is a plus that there is already a fence there that you cannot see anything from the street or from the neighbors. It's all behind the fence.
Okay. Michelle, any thoughts or considerations while we're still in the public hearing?
Is it typically that's where it's practiced to, by vote, limit the number of cars, limit where they can be stored, how they can be stored? Or is it typically the applicant that comes forward with their preference?
Well, for purposes of the board, I'm the one that's most immediate in my memory was that interest that was doing the detailing along Main Street. And Brendan, did you sit in on that hearing? Or was that, it might have even been under when
I
Jen
think I
was
recall
chair.
that one. That was the one by was that the lobster claw maybe, or am I thinking of something else?
No, so that was
We had
God, I
quite a
sound like a
few.
sitcom.
Detail
Jerry, you might,
shops.
so there was a business interest that was doing business down the road, but they were cleaning out the cars for car service purposes. Oh no, they were taking care of cars that were trucks, actually.
Are you
that
talking
were-
about 340 Main Street?
Yeah, that's I mean, everything.
Yeah, it
I
was
think
the old,
that's yeah.
yeah, it was the old U-Haul.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they were like, cars were moving place to place. And, there was the idea that they were just going to leave a vehicle here and we would get to it tomorrow, because they didn't have a lot of room internally in the building to, situate cars that were in queue. So, and even Kathy, you might remember it, but in short, they were granted the use permit, but in that case, there were limitations on how long the cars could be kept there, the vehicles could be kept there. And once they were, and this was just, again,
Do you
this
want
had
me
nothing
to
to
go
do,
over the,
if you have it available, it had nothing to do with the repair. They were simply being cleaned and, not even detailed, just bumper to bumper treatment to be given back to the user. But there was a lot of motion in terms of their process. And they did have residential abutters. So it was a little bit different than I think in this case, but at the same time, the board took specific measures to ensure that the vehicles were just not going to sit even in a parking space for long term, because it almost created the sense, going again to that akin to what Brendan just referenced, of trucks just being parked and for convenience. And to the credit of the applicant, they satisfied the board that it wasn't going to just become a truck storage overnight situation. And, but if Kathy, if you have that grant or,
I'll just read the ones regarding, the parking of the vehicles.
please.
There should be no more than 6 vehicles outside awaiting processing. All such vehicles should be parked in the adjacent fenced area while awaiting processing. No more than 4 employee vehicles will be allowed to be parked on site. All such vehicles shall be parked within the adjacent fenced area. At no time shall there be more than 10 vehicles parked on site, all to be parked in the adjacent fenced area. Overnight parking of non-company owned vehicles is not permitted. Hours of operation shall not exceed 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. No weekend operations are permitted. Special permit is granted for 1 year and is not transferable.
Thank you, Kathy. So to everybody listening in on this, when I tell you that those terms were took quite a bit of time to come to, and they all came with good reason. And now that I hear them, now I will acknowledge that in that matter, the vehicles that were being serviced weren't just automobiles, sedans, etc. They were trucks. I can't remember the nature of the business, but they were, so they took on a different character than just, you know, somebody's Lexus or somebody's Audi. As it seems like that's what Mr. Matani is saying he's going to be working on, which is fine. But at the same time, we took measure to make sure that it just didn't become a parking lot. It was those vehicles that were going to be kept on premises were there for purpose. And while I might readily acknowledge that the repair of a vehicle is different from in this case versus that case, which was the servicing and cleaning of the vehicles for, in this case, the contractor, that granted applicant was effectively like a subcontractor. Somebody gave them their trucks, they cleaned them end to end, vacuumed, washed, gave them back to them, and they went back into service or purpose. But even as Kathy was reciting that, I think that's not a bad idea, even in this case. But again, the repair of vehicles and the nature of that business, we all have some familiarity with it. It's a different, it's a different business profile. And I don't want to in any way prevent the success of Mr. Matani's business effort. But at the same time, I have to protect the interest. I want to be sure that we're protecting the interest of the town and that it doesn't create just, the sensation that there's just cars just sitting around this building and they're just sitting there and they don't seem to be there for any other purpose. Again, people are going to know it's a garage, but at the same time, there's a lot to be said for maintaining character even within a business district. And, Jerry being the more experienced person with regard to the town and how we treat our business district, I'll eagerly take your thoughts on it as well, because you see and cite and, talk to any number of interests that are just putting vehicles outside of, addresses and buildings.
Are you looking for comments from me or?
I'm just, is it just me? Am I overthinking this? And we haven't gone, this is still within the public hearing, so this affords Mr. Matani the chance to answer. It sounds like most of his operation is going to be inside the building, correct me if I'm wrong, which is great. That helps a lot. I just, I can tell you that, there's been any number of efforts of people trying to, you know, more conveniently have vehicles situated along Main Street in this town, and always with their purpose. But their purpose is sometimes different from the the underlying sense of the community that North Reading is and is where we're charged with maintaining. That's not to say that you can't have cars parked in a garage. There's a service station in town that's been very successful. But I know that I take note that on weekends, for example, they go out of their way to make sure that there aren't more than several vehicles as opposed to the peak of their day where there might be twice that number, but it is during the course of their daily business. And so I find that encouraging because I can see that that's the effort. So is there any thought or, thought that somebody might want to offer to just kind of tell me, I think this is cool, for lack of a better phrase?
And I can tell you, Bob, that I'm fairly familiar with this site. I drive by it just every day, bringing my daughter to school. And since that fence has been up, it's made all the difference. Prior to that, you could see, everything that we see here in this photo. I do see other service facilities in town, notably the one in the center by Ryers does have cars parked out. Not a lot, but I think having a fence certainly helps here. I would like to ask though, you're not going to repair to sell any cars from here, correct? It's just strictly repair and return back to the owner.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, just yes, I'm just so like I said, all I know, working on cars for a long time, and that's what I like to do. That's my hobby. That's been my whole life, working on cars, helping people, helping friends, family, helping community that I know. And yeah, that's gonna be that's gonna be the whole business. Starting the business, going in there with 1 or 2 bays. My brother, my wife is gonna help there with phone calls and all that, and we're just gonna start, advertising the business as a car repair shop. Sometimes cars, they might stay there. Like we have shortage right now in on anything. We still have shortage on parts. Sometimes you have a car that you have to leave it there for a week or sometime a month. But this is getting better. Since Corona, we had cars stay there for 3-4 months, but now it's just getting better and better. But still, you have a lot of parts that are on back order, and the car has to stay there. Once you open the car, or if the car has a broken part, defective part, the car cannot be driven. So the car is gonna sit in a parking lot, maybe for a week or 2. I'm just trying to throw everything out there that, we still have challenges. We still have, a lot of challenges that we don't have parts sometimes. So some cars, they are gonna stay there for a little longer. They might not. But yeah, this is the truth of the business.
And to that point, but the understanding is that they're going to be situated behind the fence.
Yes.
Okay, and the exterior parking that is noted on the drawing, as well as the photos that you kind of made a notation, customer drop off. So basically, that's where they come to drop off, and then it either goes into the garage for
Yes, either
repair, or it goes into the yard for
Yep.
in
Yes.
queue, waiting for its repair. Okay.
Correctly, yes.
Okay, thank you. Unless there's anything further from the public, I'd like to, sorry?
Will he have a tow truck, or will they all just come For
No. No, I don't have a tow truck and unless, somebody's car is broken, I can call the tow truck or they have a AAA or something. Once the car is gonna be an empty spot there for a drop off or towing or anything. And then after that, the car either goes inside the shop or goes on inside the fence on the parking lot.
Okay, thank
Excuse
you,
me,
Kathy.
that was a great
Go ahead.
question. Reason being is towing is not allowed in the highway business zone. And we had an issue with that once before. So Kathy, kudos to you. Great question.
So essentially, you can't, for lack of a better word, just can't open a tow truck business. You can, right? And you can't store it, you can't do any ongoing towing interest
Correct.
isn't permitted along the
Correct.
business district. Okay, thank you,
That is
Jerry.
correct.
Isn't it always nice to come out of a zoning board learning something, everybody, that might not be readily known? I believe it might be appropriate to move, unless the board has any more questions to the applicant, or if there's any more input from the public, I'd like to move this over to consideration by the board and take it out of public hearing and for consideration. Does anybody want to bring that motion?
I assume someone would have spoken up if there was any members of the public that wanted to speak.
Kathy, they did notice butters, the return slips were there, so to speak, and it was posted in
Yeah.
it was posted, so it's known. So yeah, Michelle, I don't think there is anybody readily available. And again, all the permits have periods of time to until they actually go into effect. But for
Sure,
purposes
yeah.
of further public hearing, I don't see any interested parties. So it might be appropriate to bring this, close the public hearing. And so if anybody wants to bring a motion to close the public hearing, I'd be most,
Yep, I move to close the public hearing.
do I get a second?
Brendan Riley, second.
All in favor of closing the public hearing on the matter?
Michelle Bodie and I.
Brendan Riley, aye.
Bob Breen, aye. So to the board, what are your thoughts, concerns, based upon what you hear, and ultimately what is being proposed here to open up a service station at 299 Main?
I think if there's a gas trap and he complies with permits and all of his stuff is behind the fence, and there's no tow truck, I'm assuming a tow can bring a car there, right, and just leave.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, so
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, Jerry, you can, yes, tow trucks can bring it, but he can't use that, he can't have a tow truck as part of his business profile where that tow truck exists on that lot. Whether
If the
it's
tow
for
truck is
overnight-
ancillary to the business,
Right.
that's a different story, but if he's just towing something to his shop to get it repaired, that's fine, but he just can't be using that as a tow truck type business. Not allowed.
Okay. Well, those are my only concerns.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah,
Maria.
I'm generally supportive. I would want to put some parameters on, as you've been alluding to, Bob, just not having cars parked in the employee parking lot for weeks, months at a time, cars out front for weeks, months at a time, like making it clear this is not for storage, that it's in and out. But otherwise generally supportive.
I'm supportive as well. I would just be curious, Jerry, if there's any certain provisions or language that limits the amount of parking spaces based on the square footage of paved area or the building. I mean, he can't go and just throw these things in like Legos and try to shuffle them all around. They need to be an actual legal parking spots, or am I?
There are
Okay.
limits. Absolutely, there are limits.
Okay.
What those limits are, I'd have to look them up for you, but I just don't have my ready.
Gotcha.
So
Thank you.
is the idea, so what, are you, Brendan, you're talking about what's behind the fence, or are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm
what's
just
outside?
talking what's behind the fence. I mean, let's say, I mean, I tried to do a quick, Google
Sure.
Earth takeoff on, and I'm around maybe, 9,500 square feet or so, plus or minus a paved area. So I don't know what limitations that means for parking spaces. He's saying there might be 20 there if they're actually, truly marked out 20 parking spaces. That's fine, but if you're going to start blocking them in and double parking and trying to squeeze 40 or 50 in there, then that may be a problem or concern for the board.
Right, and I think it's a legitimate one that can be limited in any grant of permit. And again, nothing is ever hard and fast. If for some reason, if the grant is given and he finds as he goes forward with his business profile that he needs to situate more than even the calculation that Jerry referenced might require in his position, then I think that, he can always return to the board for that consideration. Again, I want to encourage use of the premises. For me, for purposes of this hearing, I want to encourage use of the premises, but again, I want to make sure that A, it's appropriate. It does seem like it is. B, I'm encouraged by the work being done inside. I mean, most motor vehicle repair is done that way. But at the same time, and with Brendan's acknowledgement that the fencing has improved just the the aesthetic, if you will, of that area. I'm not as familiar with it, if at all. That's always encouraging. And again, he will have to return to us for purposes of the signage, whatever he decides to present and develop. And it might be just small town America, but sometimes these things do seem to be piecemeal when it comes to North Reading. And I guess I get to take that slight because I live here and attend to all the community matters. But I understand what he's proposing to do. I'm encouraged by the idea that there previously was an occupant that did do repair work, as noted by Inspector Neil. So I have every belief that, if it existed at one time, I don't know why it didn't continue to exist, but it might seem consistent with the business area. I know it's right around the corner from the cycle interest that, again, also does service to and improvements to those vehicles. So and again, my only last thought on this is that, as I often tell everybody, I appreciate detail and presentation of layout as opposed to, in this case, drawings, but it's an established building. So it does kind of, it more or less, in this case, I'll give you that it satisfies for that purpose. Does anybody else have any thoughts or considerations? Hearing none. Does anybody want to move to close the board conversation and consideration of the matter?
We closed already.
We closed.
Okay, great. Does anybody want to bring a motion regarding the matter?
I can. I will look to everyone to help me fill in the conditions, but I'll start us off. I move to grant a special use permit to Artur Martini for an automotive repair shop to be located in the Highway Business District at 299 Main Street, North Reading, Mass. Map 12, parcel 128, in accordance with section 200-39D of the North Reading zoning bylaws, with the following conditions. I think we had discussed one, no operation of a tow truck business, limiting the tow trucks to ancillary, towing in and out. That was right. People are nodding. Okay.
Yes.
Uh,
Uh,
to,
no overnight employee parking. It doesn't seem that
Yeah.
it's necessary.
No storage of cars and employee parking.
No storage of, and yes, that the fenced in area, which will be used for, cars that are awaiting repair. The limit on that will be, determined by, um, the square footage, calculation that exists and has been applied for similar businesses. Jerry, is that a fair characterization?
Yes,
So while that will be determined and we don't know it at this time, that's that's an interesting thought. Since we don't know the footage and we don't know the calculation, that we can't do the calculation, and it begs the question, do we
I
we
always
put this
thought Jerry might be wrong here, but around 325 square feet or so per car was I thought.
what you have is, the parking spaces are considered 18 feet by 9 feet. And they have compact spaces. You can have a maximum number of compact spaces. I'm reading this from our zoning bylaws. Maximum number of compact spaces, 20% of the total parking. So I think he has plenty of room to park vehicles there. It's just the idea of how many vehicles he can park there. I don't have any problem with, at some point within the next a couple of weeks, go over there and measure it out, and then sit down with the town planner and make sure that this is being calculated properly.
Okay, so, for that purpose and to make sure that the grant and permit, so he's also under this June 1st, it sounds, I'm trying to be assistive here. He looks like he's looking at June 1st, to enter into the agreement. And the agreement seems to be contingent upon, the grant of the permit, which is being discussed and proposed at this time. So with that being said, does anybody have any thoughts, or even Mr. Matani himself? I know that we're past public hearing, but to make this work, because it's clear that number, that shared vehicles number, occupation number, is relevant and, worth including in the permitted conditions.
Yeah, so I don't really know the exact numbers, but how many cars can be parked there? It doesn't have, like, it's not lined or anything like that. And the owner, he is open to to work with me wherever needs to be done, and he just wants to get the place rented, and I'm looking for the same thing, to rent something. So wherever it needs to be done, we're just gonna go through legal procedures and get them right.
I'm smiling because every time these situations present, I always think of Jen Platt. The practical matter here is that if we put this over till our next meeting for purposes of determination of that condition, since it is, I think, important to the grant being both comprehensive and controlling. The question I have, Mr. Matani, is we're meeting again in June. Do you think, in this case, Intrepid, the your prospective landlord, do you think they'll allow you to go past June 1st? And Intrepid Enterprises will allow you to go past June 1st in order to enter into the leasehold?
I don't know that question. I talked to him and then, he wrote everything down. He's like, I can't wait
Sure.
for you until June 1st. And he said, he just bought the property and, he got out, he moved the big trucks in there. He said it was a little messy. I don't know where it was, and now he just wants to rent the place. And he told me that I have
Okay.
until June.
That's fine.
I can't.
That being considered, Brendan, or even Jerry, we can set a number and he can reapproach if he has the need to put more. I mean, it's that not far afield. And that would be what I might posit as a way to get him to the point he needs to be if this motion is to be granted while satisfying the board for our concerns. So,
And we
given-
want a definitive number in the special
Sure.
permit? Okay.
so it can be, no more than, because that is the language you've used in the past. And if somebody can give me a reasonable number as to how many cars you think should go in that side yard, all due respect to Mr. Matani, if we had the specs on a measurement, we could probably do it now, but we can't. So we're giving him the benefit of the doubt on that. In theory, how many I'll take experience as well as creative energy here. I would probably, I could give you my number if any. I mean,
Yeah.
do you really need to have? Do you really need to have more than? Do you really need to have more than 8 cars in queue? I mean, it's a reasonable, number. I mean, cars are coming in and cars are going out. So we're talking about how many cars do you really need to have sitting in that side lot? Even if they are waiting on parts, even if they are waiting on service. If it turns out that he needs more than 8, then by all means, come back to the board. Because in that case, he would have already had a grant. He makes a petition. He has, at that time, gives us square footage, and he shows need and cause. Not unreasonable. But, I'm trying to protect his interest in the immediate of June 1st, while also, as importantly, protecting the interest of the town. So I pick a number, and I think to myself, how often when I drive by service station that exists down by Ryers, what's the largest number of cars that are in that lot at the peak time of its day? Yeah, maybe it's 10. So is 10 the number?
Just so we're clear, Bob, parking would be on the left and right of the existing garage, it looks like. Maybe with that.
Right, that's the, I mean, but the yard is the yard. Isn't
Yard's the
that
yard.
where we're gonna be putting these cars for queuing behind the fence? I mean, it's just this,
Well, he mentioned himself, I think you said brother and spouse. maybe?
So,
So
Yeah.
that's 3 right there. So that leaves for
Well, that'd be employee parking, I think, along the front of that barn. I mean, I think, Mr. Matani, you mentioned earlier, there's probably around, 20 to 25 spaces. So, I mean, I'm looking at it and I'd say, yeah, there's maybe 20 spaces behind the fence and potentially 4 or 5 out front. I'd be fine, Bob, saying something, around 15 behind the fence and the employee parking out front.
yeah, the employee parking is daytime parking.
Yeah.
I want to restrict obvious overnight parking. I don't like the idea of cars without, if you can put them behind the fence, then everything should go behind the fence. Employee parking, hey, if you've got 3 employees, they need to park. That's fine. There isn't a business in this town that doesn't have employees parking somewhere in or around the business itself. It's the idea, as noted, I think by Michelle, the idea, or it might have been Maria, we just can't have cars you know, being left in front of the place that are there for service as opposed to employee purpose. So maybe I misheard, but I think the idea is how many cars do you want behind the fences? And that's based on the square footage or, you know, for that. So if a dozen cars is not to exceed a dozen cars, then that means, think about it, from Saturday till Monday, which is he's not open on Sundays by his representation of his plan, there could be a dozen cars sitting behind the fence. Okay. But, you know, I think somebody used an example like stacking them like Legos, right? How much of a, you know, a parking lot is this going to become? For his benefit, you'd like to say, well, I need 20 because I'm really busy. Great, you're successful. But in the immediate, I just don't want to see it become a problem where it creates overflow. And in that moment, he's like, look, we got to put them out front because I don't have places for them. So he would have to keep an eye on how many cars are coming in. People often come by a station and say, I need my car fixed. Bring it back on Wednesday. I'll get to it then. Okay. So I'm not as concerned about this, but I do want to put a limitation on it. So again, I'm just more interested in how many cars should be kept behind the fence. There'll be no overnight parking of any vehicle. You know, it's one thing for the owner to stay late, but he's not having residents there. There just shouldn't be any overnight parking outside of the business. I think that's consistent with most, if not all, of our prior decisions regarding business parking for whatever purpose. It's just so if somebody wants to believe that it should be no more than a number for the yard, I think that would be appropriate.
Is 15 good? Isn't that what Brendan said?
Yes.
I'm fine with 15.
Okay. All right, so I'm okay with 15 as well. Michelle? Okay, I'll take that nod as a yes.
Yes,
So,
sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice, so not to
so
exceed 15.
So again, from Go, to recite what Michelle had said, motion was to grant a special permit to authorize Matani for an automotive repair shop to be located in the Highway Business District, 299 Main Street, North Reading, map 12, parcel 128, in accordance with section 200-39D of the North Reading zoning bylaws with the following conditions. No overnight employee parking, cars waiting to be worked on and kept in the fenced-in area will not exceed 15. Customer parking will be accommodated by the noted upfront spaces as is appropriately sized. All deliveries will take place during business hours. And the hours of operations will be those noted by the applicant in their petition, their requests to the board. Again, being, if I might. I'm sorry, I'm trying to flip through it. I know Mr. Satani made note
I
of
believe
it.
it was 8 to 5, Bob, Monday through Friday, and then Saturday. Is it 9 to 1?
I think I put like 9 to 1, 12 or 2 p.m. I lie. I have the paperwork downstairs. I don't have it right in front of me right now, I think. But yeah, I think
So Monday through Friday, what was your opening hour?
8 to 5,
8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Saturday,
9 to
you
1,
can
and do 9 to
nine-
1.
you can take 8 to 1 p.m. if you want to open at 9, that's fine.
Okay.
We'll go 8 to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. And further that all Board of Health requirements, restrictions, and regulations are met. And I apologize, is there anything for, And signage on the property will require separate separate application and permitting. Did that pretty much, does that permit proposal, does anybody have anything further to add?
You've mentioned the no towing operation, correct?
Yes, I left that out. Final point. No business towing will be conducted by the applicant out of or from 299 Main Street. All towing will be ancillary in nature, it will be ancillary and unrelated to the business permitted here too. With that being a word jumble, do I have a second?
Brendan Riley, second.
Okay, all in favor of the proposed permit proposal?
Maria,
Brendan Riley, aye.
Maria Lockhart, aye.
Michelle Bodie and
Michelle.
I.
Motion passes. Thank you. So, Mr. Matani, with great appreciation for your patience with this, the terms, as you just heard them, will be reduced, put into writing, and will be available to you. Is it 20 days? I'm kind of clouding up right now. Kathy, if you could just recite the usual grant.
Once it gets stamped in with the town clerk, there's a 20-day appeal period. I will send you a notice letting you know when that period expires.
Okay.
Okay. So you can tell in this case, for your purposes, Intrepid, that it was granted, and the 20 days should take you just before June 1st, but the record will reflect that the use has been granted, and you know, if you continue to want to do business with them, they should have no problem entering into the leasehold with you.
Okay, thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you. All right.
Good luck.
Thank you, everybody. Hope to
Okay,
see you
thank
guys
you.
bringing cars to my shop.
Thank you.
That cuts both ways. You should never wish that I have to bring my car into your house, to your place for repair. But I understand the acknowledgement. Our next matter, and thank you for waiting on this. A virtual public hearing will be held on Thursday, May 9th, 7 p.m. On the petition of Matthew Bacigalupo, I apologize, represented herein by Jesse Whitfeld, for a variance from the southerly side setback to build an addition to the house located at 7 Sylvia Road, North Reading, Mass. Map 61, parcel 60, per the setback requirements of the dimensional and density regulations, North Reading zoning bylaws. Good evening, Matthew. And if you might, for the record, pronunciation of your name, I would appreciate that.
Bacigalupo.
Thank you. Are you also joined by by Jesse Whitfeld?
I believe.
Yes, the
Or
two
are
hardest
you-
last names for you to pronounce are here for you.
Well, yes.
Sorry, before you get going, I'm actually gonna sign off since I seem to have lost my voice. My
Okay.
illness seems to be getting worse, but I know you still have a quorum. If you're able to proceed without me, I think I'm gonna go limp away.
I appreciate your steadfast for getting through to this point. Thank you, Michelle.
My
Feel better.
Sudafed wore off.
And we will see you in
I think July.
July, go figure.
Yeah.
Be well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay, so Matthew and Jesse, please tell us about your proposal for 7 Sylvia Road.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Is it okay if I share my screen? I could probably manipulate the imagery a little easier here.
Please.
All right, is everyone seeing the presentation?
Yes, I've got
Wonderful.
LJR on my screen.
Beautiful. All right. So what you see here is the site plan for our addition where we are seeking relief for our front yard setback of Sylvia Road. The existing dwelling is a 3-bedroom dwelling, and we are seeking to add an addition that does not change the utility of that residential structure and adds more living space and a 2-car garage for the property. We're here to argue that due to the shape and conditions of this lot, that there is substantial hardship that would cause building within the setbacks to the literal definition to an undue hardship to the owner. You can see here on the property where the existing dwelling sits, and you can see here where our proposed addition is. The existing dwelling is 27.2 feet from Sylvia Road in a current state of nonconformity. And the new dwelling is seeking to be 25.2, about 2 feet closer to that. The reasoning for that, as you can see here from this diagram. So what we have laid out here and hatched for you in conditions is the 2 front yard setbacks. So unfortunately for the owners of this property, for Matt and his wife, it is not only a corner lot, but it is a corner lot of an acute angle. So they are subject to 2 front yard setbacks of 40 feet instead of multiple side yard setbacks. They only have 1 real side yard setback. And then additionally, because of that acute nature, you can see how little buildable lot, that is the hatched area right there, how little buildable lot remains. The other thing of soil conditions is the current location of their septic tank and leach field. So all of what would be buildable area on this lot is currently occupied by the existing septic tank and the existing leach field and the required setbacks from that for any construction. So in doing so, we looked at this diagram as our starting point and said the most logical place to put an addition is along Sylvia Road and to hold it as close as we can get to those septic and tank setbacks and see what we can get for that. The resultant structure is what you see here. As I said, there's no change to utility, so it's currently a 3-bedroom. This is a lovely old New England home where those bedrooms are what would be considered closets by modern standards. So we are seeking merely to create the same 3 bedrooms, but in appropriate sized dimensions. So we're moving the living space out of the current existing structure and into the new addition. So the kitchen and living room comes out into the new addition, and that allows us room to gut this existing structure without changing its footprint, just staying within the existing footprint to get 3 full-sized bedrooms, to get appropriately sized bathrooms, to get appropriately sized closets, and even an office space for that. And then additionally in the top right, you can see a full 2-car garage, which is particular interest for my client because due to the nature of his business, that he has a work truck that it currently sits in the driveway, and the safety and security of being able to put that and all the tools of his livelihood within a locked 2-car garage is of great importance. To give you a view of what the new house is going to look like, the structure to the right with the stone over the foundation is the existing building. We're making a few tweaks to it, so we are popping up a portion of the roof adjacent to what will become the primary bedroom, and then we're altering what is a little bay window currently to align with the gable ends that's there. But other than that, the existing building is staying in much its same condition, with alterations to siding, materials, and windows. And then everything to the left is the new addition, in essence, the new house. So you see a new entry. Currently, the entry to the existing house, even though it is addressed at 7 Sylvia Road, the address is at the corner between Sylvia and the other street, which I'm blanking on now. So deliveries, guests that have not been to the property and don't know where the front door was, myself included the first time I went there, you end up parking on the corner between the two streets, creating what I think would be considered a hazard for view of that as an intersection to try and get into that front entry. Now, with the new addition, the front entry is properly located to the address on Sylvia Road, and you can see that here in the elevation. Some of the model images you're seeing behind, so the one on the bottom left is the view of that two-car garage from behind. The one in the middle is the view of the addition in the middle from the yard side of the house, with the garage on the right and the existing house on the left. And then the one on the right is that side elevation, mainly of the existing house and the new addition in the background. Some representation of existing to new. Apologies, this is a dated Google Street View image. It doesn't represent the current condition. They've put up a fence around their yard. They've taken some trees down, so it's not truly accurate, but the house hasn't changed. The house is the same. So again, you can see the location of the chimney. You can see the bay window that we've recaptured in form. There's actually a 3-season porch that would be removed as part of this addition. That 3-season porch currently overlays the setback of the septic tank. So we would be remedying that condition when we put this addition on. And then you can see the new entry there and the new two-car garage and driveway. So the driveway is in much the same location, just shifted over to the side of the yard to make way for the new entry. Some other site context, to try to illustrate that granting of relief of this front yard setback would not cause a detriment to the public good, or would not in any way, we feel, nullify the intent of the bylaw. The neighboring properties and their distances to the street are all very much in unison with what the current house sits at. So I can zoom in on this later if that's something you'd like to see. And apologies, these are not to lot lines. These are to street. I don't know the lot lines of the other neighboring properties. So that didn't seem like a fair metric. But from building to street, they are all in the ballpark of high 20s to low to mid 30s. And we are currently at 34 and 34 foot 8 inches to street in our current existing non-conforming. So we would be reducing that by 2 feet, and we would be 32 foot 8. So right around 33, which is very much comparable with the street side exposure of the existing neighborhood. So with that, I will sort of end my presentation here and turn it back over to the board for discussion.
Before you put it back over to us, does Matthew want to add anything since he is the owner?
That's why we had Jesse do all this, because he knows how to speak zoning.
Okay, fair enough. I just thought I'd make sure that
I think he covered everything in more than I could ever imagine.
okay. So it's an interesting proposal, and I'm an easy date. I like people that make a nice showing. So thank you for that. I genuinely appreciate it. So what's interesting about this is, so the current entry to the existing home it kind of sounds like it sits between Williams and Sylvia. You kind of don't, even though it's a Sylvia address, the front door is, what is it? Come right out at that, through that
It's
center
straight.
point?
Yeah, it's right straight ahead.
Sure.
Can you see
And,
my cursor there, Bob?
Yeah, I get that. So, yeah, I drove by the property recently just to take a look at it relative to the proposal. And so correct me if I'm wrong, the entry to the garage will be on Sylvia, right? You'll drive to
Yes.
get into your two-car garage coming off of Sylvia as opposed to, well, there isn't one there. Your driveway now also sits on Sylvia, but you know, the garage door entry, those two doors will sit facing Sylvia, right? Okay.
Right.
Just out of curiosity, is the existing fence, are you gonna continue to keep the existing fence up, or is that
Well, we'll have to
Is
move
the-
it. We'll have to move it.
right? But it's just again, it's an aesthetic. It was interesting when I drove by to try to get a sense of the layout. You couldn't, because I was trying to picture how this was going to situate, but the fence pretty much
Well, the fence,
limits your view of the property in back. So, you know, when I was trying to visualize how is in this picture, you can't see the blue past because the fence is blocking the area where that a good portion of the proposed outline for the proposed building sits.
well,
You
the
just-
fence will have to be taken down
Right, sure.
all the way over, and then we'll tie it back into the garage.
Okay. The other thought that struck me, and again, it, especially taking this aerial, is you know, lovely, very nice neighborhood, but correct, maybe, you know, Jesse can offer, will this be very likely the largest property, largest structure within the general area in and around Sylvia and or Williams? Or if you don't know, I understand why you might not, but it seems like
Yeah,
you're expanding quite a
There's
bit.
one on Williams that has an in-law apartment, or
It's a two-story
two-story with
with
an
an
in-law.
attached in-law.
So that's pretty big. And
Okay.
then across the street, they have a second floor with a oversized one-car garage, and their bedrooms continue over to that.
Yeah, the footprint of this
again-
is only about
Yeah.
2,000, just over 2,000 square feet. It's actually not that large a footprint, considering that a 625 feet of it is a two-car garage. But it's spread out. That's what, because of trying to fit in where we thought was the best buildable lot. It's kind of long and lean, if you will, right? We tried to take advantage of what made the most sense as usable site. So it conveys from an aerial view that it's large, but they're not very deep. The rooms in the addition, the kitchen and the living room, are only 13 feet deep. They're not large rooms by any stretch of the imagination in terms of depth, because we were bound by, we only wanted to ask for as much relief as we thought necessary, not more. And we obviously couldn't go any farther to the setbacks of the septic system. So
it sounds like where most houses tuck their garage in within the more of a classic design, you had to spread out
spot
in
on.
order to turn a little this way and a little that way in order to situate it on the lot because of septic and leach. Right? I
100%.
mean, that's how I'm seeing it now, and thank you for this this view. I find that quite useful. Just before we go any further, is there anything else relevant to this that is pertinent to the presentation itself, or I'm gonna just, before I ask if there's any abutters and or neighbors or community interest that want to be heard on it. Is there anything further, Jesse, or is that?
Nope, that's the most of it. I mean, if I didn't say anything, I'm
Sure.
happy to answer any questions or whatnot that comes up. And you know, if there's anything that wasn't clear, I can move back through slides too to illustrate anything that
Kathy, for the record, did notice go out to the abutters and or the interested parties within the neighborhood as it might be required?
Yes, they did notification, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Before we invite questions from the board, is there anybody from Sylvia Road and or Williams Road with us tonight that might want to offer thoughts and opinions regarding 7 Sylvia? Okay, hearing none. To the board, is there, and to Jerry, thank you. Any questions or thoughts that you might want to, Brendan, Maria, Jerry, please?
I've been working here and there with the architect, and I think he did an amazing job with this. He's only really asking for 2 feet of relief. I think he's 27 feet, and he's 25 feet currently. So, I'm in support of the project.
Okay,
I'm with Jerry. I agree.
okay. And Brendan?
I agree as well. This is very well planned and thought out.
You know, I think this might be the first time I've actually said this on a record in any of these hearings, but kudos to you, Jesse, because this view right here helps a great deal. When I tell you that I drove by, I mean, it just called me, you know, that type of person, but I drove by and the fence I found frustrating. I know that it sounds like I'm harping on your fence, sorry, to the applicant as well, but I'm looking and I'm trying to vision, because in most of these cases, when you go by any of these properties, you get a general sense of what it's going to look like after completion, and I just couldn't get it. And it, as Jerry noted and everybody, you're not asking for a great relief. In fact, you know, when I first read the proposal, I'm saying to myself, oh my goodness, they're trying to work around leaching and septic, and it's going to push it this way or that way. Like, what's this thing all about? And I'm looking at these views on paper, but when I see it from here, with the understanding that that far right structure, if you want to put the cursor, the most square part of the addition, other than is a garage for all intents and purposes, it just makes sense, and it suddenly doesn't seem as non-conforming. When I asked earlier that it was a large, seemingly like going to be kind of like the biggest property in the area, non-conforming is a bad characterization, but let's face it, that's how they built the one that exists there now. It seemed like you were trying to fit a lot into it, and now that I see that it's how it's going to sit on your property, it's a lot more both aesthetic and I think, for lack of a better phrase, agreeable. And I take any comment by Jerry regarding the effort by a party as great surety to me, that when he tells me that they've worked hard with his office, I take that with a great deal of appreciation as well as significance. So thank you for that. I don't have any further concerns or considerations. Just to keep the formality of the meeting, I'd like at this time to move to close the public hearing. Unless there's any further questions to be, I apologize to the board. If there's any further questions to ask of either the applicant and or the architect in this matter. Here, and hearing none, if anybody wants to make a motion to close the public hearing, I'd like to vote in that and bring it to the consideration by the board.
I, Brendan Riley, move to close the public hearing.
Maria, a second from you.
I, Maria Lockhart, second the motion.
All in favor of closing the public hearing regarding 7 Sylvia Road?
Brendan Riley, aye.
Maria Lockhart, aye.
Bob Breen, aye. So with that being said, is anybody, any comments, thoughts, concerns, considerations? Okay, hearing none. Does anybody want to bring a motion for purposes of 7 variance for the proposed addition on 7 Sylvia Road?
I, Maria Lockhart, move to grant the petition of Matthew Bagialupo, represented by Jesse Wittefeld, for a variance from the southerly side setback to build an addition to the house located at 7 Sylvia Road, North Reading, Massachusetts, map 61, parcel 60, per the setback requirements of the dimensional and density regulations, North Reading zoning bylaws.
And for purposes of the variance, Jerry, Kathy, board, do we have, what would be the appropriate measurement? And if Jesse, if you know it, because I think you have a better idea of placement.
15, just to give them a little more space, but if you want to go,
Okay,
it'd be
thank you.
14, 8 maybe.
So just to be clear, and I know that we're past the public hearing, is it a grant of 15 feet, Jesse, substantial and a good, the appropriate number for you to achieve
Yes,
development?
yes, so I'm clear, you're granting up to 15 feet.
Yes, it sounds like what you're actually going to need, however, is, so what is the actual line number? I apologize, I don't have.
Yeah, it's okay. So I pulled the slide up. I mean that's more than sufficient. In essence, we only need to around 25 feet.
Okay, that being the case, 15 feet with that limitation for this development only. So in other words, not that this is in the cards, but Jerry, you might be able to offer an opinion on this. Maybe it's best to give it to the actual number here. So the grant, if we go to the actual number, would it be, let's see, look, where's the compass? Would that be north?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's north. That's southern.
Would it be northeast
The
variance?
northwesterly exposure.
Northwest would be to what amount? Is it 20, 25.2?
25.2, correct.
Okay, so I'd go northwest 26. No, excuse me, I'm going the wrong way for you. I apologize. Northwest 24. Just, sometimes a brick gets put the wrong place. And if that's northwest, the other direction would be, I apologize. Is that west? No, east. East 20. Is it 25.1? Is that
Correct. Yeah, it's 25.1. Yeah, I'd say that's northeasterly.
northeast as well? So if we make each of those consistent 24 in each of those two respective directions, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, that should be more than sufficient.
Okay.
So that's his rear lot line, correct?
What's that again?
That 25.1 is his rear lot line. Or his side.
side.
It's his side. He doesn't have a rear
Yeah,
lot. He has
so
two
that-
fronts and side.
So all he needs is 25. He's got the 25.
He has the 25 there. He
So we
has
just
a
need to
non,
relieve from the front.
correct. He currently has 27 non-conforming. He's technically asking for 2, but legally, we're looking at 40, so he's asking for 15. I don't see it being an issue.
As for 15,
Yeah,
okay. So the grant of the variance,
From the northerly northwest.
right? Is the summation here 15?
Front lot line.
What's that again?
15 from the northwest front lot line.
Yeah, the front, because we're gonna, it is Sylvia Road.
Yeah.
So yes, the front lot line. And the same for the side. In which case, I think that that lot line directionally is really northeast or east. It's even east of the front. So does that satisfy the board for clarity? I'm not even sure it satisfies me. I hate to impose upon you, Jerry. You look at more plans of actually Jesse and Jerry. You look at more plans. Would you go, Jerry, describe it as 15 from the front lot line? If we establish that Sylvia Road will be the front,
Giving him 15 feet. I'm gonna give him a
Okay.
15-foot variance. Some communities I've worked in did it the opposite. They gave them the 25-foot variance. In this case, it all depends how you want to view it. Jesse, how would you view it? 15-foot variance?
15 seems totally fine. Yeah, it's a 15-foot variance from the required setback.
That's exactly how I'm viewing it as well. And that's why I said the 27 and you have the 25, you're only looking at two feet of a non-conformity. So it's its current non-conformity. So we're looking at 15.
okay, thank you. And the same for I'm just trying to know for the proposed variance, the location. So we've got the front lot line. Are we gonna what's the best way to describe that that's running along towards the shed end where the other one is going
That's,
along, or
From the garage back, Jesse, that 25-1, that's east.
that's east?
And then where the new front door would be, the 25-2, that's north.
Right, so again, 15, 2 variants are required, correct? If that's the case, one on the front, one on that side. 15 on the
He does not need a side variance. He
Okay.
does not need a
Great.
side variance. He complies there.
okay, then fine. Then it's 15 east. I'll make this simple. Variance grant for 15 on the front. So once again, Maria, motion to grant a 15-foot variance to the southerly front setback for an addition to the house at 7 Sylvia Road, North Reading, Mass. Again, map 61, parcel 60, excuse me, as outlined on the submitted plan. That was dated in this case, April 1st, 2024. Can I get a second? Brendan?
Brendan Riley, second.
Thank you. All in favor of of granting the setback variance, excuse me.
Maria Lockhart, aye.
Brendan Riley, aye.
Bob Breen, aye. Thank you. Kathy, if you could recite process from here out for the applicant.
Once I get it stamped in with the town clerk, there's a 20-day appeal period. I will send you notice when that period will expire.
Thank
Thank
you, Kathy. So you're all, we hope you're all set with this. I think I speak for the board. Thank you for submitting such a comprehensive, making such a comprehensive presentation as well as the proposal. I think it's going to fit the what the neighborhood and obviously this very oddly situated lot, as well as ensuring you know, the all important and all necessary septic requirements for 7 Sylvia Road. Good luck with it.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any new business? Hearing none. Did anybody have opportunity? I haven't, to review the minutes from our last minute. If that's a meeting, excuse me, if that's not the case, we can put that over to our June meeting. Brendan, Maria. I know you can read fast, Maria. I've seen you in practice, but
Not right now.
we not at this hour. Thank you.
Sorry.
We'll put the minutes over to be considered at our June meeting. I know it's late and laborious. You know, again, with regard to 299 Main, like I said at the outset, and I meant it when I said it to him, coming to us with a proposal and not having a lot of detail. I understand this might be cultural issues, what have you, but you know, and Jerry might agree with me on this. We shouldn't take these business operations. The worst thing I want to see is somebody go in and then somebody goes out. And you know, I think that taking the time to make sure that, you know, it is going to be limited to the purposes that he suggested, and making sure he understands that is valuable. Because the work we do up front here now, I'd like to believe, eases the job of not only inspection, but health and all the other departments within town. So thank you for your patience with that. Unless there's anything further, anybody wants to bring a motion to close the meeting, I'd be more than happy to entertain it.
I, Maria Lockhart, move to close the meeting.
Brendan Riley, second.
All in favor?
Maria Lockhart, aye.
Brendan Riley, aye.
Bob Breen, aye. Thank you so much, Jerry. Thank you, Kathy.
Yep.
Kudos to Michelle for struggling through this. And again, we're meeting June 13th. And again, at that time. So there will be, you will be receiving the draft, the opinion letter with regard to Fieldcrest. That'll be going out. Keep an eye open for that. It's not going to be, I had a long conversation with counsel on that. Shouldn't be a very long opinion, but I think it'll be comprehensive and on point. And he had a full understanding of the situation. And what comes from that, he had every confidence that he'll be able to give an opinion that will be reflective of the legal matters attendant to Fieldcrest Terrace. Without anything else, thank you so much for your time and everybody's assistance tonight. Best of health, take care, and thanks again. Happy Mother's Day, Maria.
Thank you.
Kathy, I don't think I've ever had a conversation with you about your personal life, so you know.
I have 2 children, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Mother's Day.
You know,
He has 3 if you include me.
Biggest.
Well, you know that'll be the case because you'll know when Jerry's knocking at the door to try to see if he can get some kind of a return to you know, in-law status, if that's the case, the future holds. I mean, you know, as when when Matthew was at, or they noticed that's another property, the other large property in and around Sylvia and Williams, housed an in-laws. I'm like, oh, here we go. I think that's the first time I ever heard that concern raised at any of these meetings was by you, Jerry. The idea that these people are creating these little undisclosed, unpermitted bedroom suites and what have you. And by the way, just as a curiosity, is that still, are you just seeing more of it, or are you just getting a sense of it?
We're seeing more of it. Kathy just got another one today. What was it, Kathy? They're trying to put in a third kitchen.
Oh, yeah, so building a big house on Marblehead and 2 wings and 3 kitchens and
Yeah, I can't stop it. The only thing I can do is give them a deed restriction, maintaining it's a single family and it's gonna be unrestricted. Meaning,
And so
doors.
is this something that, not everybody can stay on if they want, but just out of the thought is this is gonna have to go to town. Like, we're just gonna have to introduce, if somebody has an interest in limiting / preventing, it's gonna have to be an amendment to the bylaws or a new
I would think that would
bylaw.
impact the septic, wouldn't it? Having 3 kitchens, you'd almost treat it like a bathroom at some point.
we cannot, there was a federal suit. Ernie Bach was the one who was involved in a federal suit. And the state of Massachusetts said you can have as many kitchens in your house as you want, period. So there's as many kitchens and as many bathrooms.
What do you
So-
need 3 kitchens for?
I don't know, but the state of Massachusetts will not allow me to limit that. I tried limiting that when I was in Marlboro. And I was basically taken to the board and I was told by the board, I do not have the right to limit it. Only thing I can do is draw up a deed restriction. So that's what I did, is I drew up a deed restriction saying that you can have as many kitchens in your house as you want, but it has to be unrestricted, meaning no doors in between any of the kitchens to the other bedrooms and whatever. So, and the state currently has an ADU law, and they're trying to push that through right now. So.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, interesting. It's coming. If it's not already here, I think Jerry recites the idea that it is already here. It's only going to become more prevalent and problematic because it is going to put a stress on the systems ultimately, but that's for another day. All right, unless there's anything else, everybody, thank you so much. Good evening. And again, happy Mother's Day. Hope you all have a really nice weekend, and appreciate your time tonight. See you in June.
good night.
Good
Good night.
night, everyone.
Take care, Kath, Maria. Bye-bye.